He has hunted monsters for 2,600 years. He thought he knew what was coming. He was wrong. Okay, just sit with that for a second. Imagine carrying the literal weight of 26 centuries of warfare on your shoulders, only to realize the real battle hasn't even started yet.
And that brings us to an absolutely massive, mind-bending question. What if the Great Flood wasn't an erasure, but an intermission, right? What if the most ancient, terrifying forces in human history didn't vanish, but were just waiting? Let's dive right into the evidence and trace exactly how this universe is built.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are exploring the huge, intricately connected literary universe brought to us by Kerman Gild Publishing. Now, this isn't just your standard story. We are looking at a sweeping saga where ancient prophecy meets epic adventure. And I mean epic, spanning literally thousands of years of human and superhuman history.
Architect, author, Kerman Gild and the publishing house. Let's get into it. You'll notice the publisher's beautiful logo, that compass-guided ship, the Sea Serpent. It perfectly captures their foundational mission. Kerman Gild Publishing is dedicated entirely to weaving together historical fact and inspired imagination to create these epic chronicles of faith, history, and divine providence.
And this is exactly why these books feel so incredibly real. Kerman Gild doesn't just invent his lore out of thin air. No way. He grounds his fiction in intense primary source research. We're talking deep dives into ancient history, biblical archaeology, Celtic oral traditions, and honestly, incredibly complex Hebrew genealogies. He explores the forgotten migrations that shaped Western civilization, which makes the fantastical and supernatural elements in his stories feel completely earned and terrifyingly plausible.
So the crucial point is how this research translates into the actual books. Gild has constructed two distinct yet intimately connected series. On one hand, we have the Stone and the Sceptre Chronicles, an epic fantasy set in the 6th century BCE. On the other, we have the Nephilim Chronicles, a modern, high-octane apocalyptic supernatural thriller. Now, they feel completely different in genre, but as we are going to see, one is actually the ancient origin myth for the other's modern apocalypse. It's brilliant. Series 1, The Stone and the Sceptre Chronicles.
The epic saga begins in a moment of absolute, high-stakes, historical crisis. Picture this. The year is 586 BCE. Jerusalem is falling to the Babylonian Empire. Everything is literally burning. In the midst of all this chaos, the aged prophet Jeremiah flees with a sacred, world-altering charge. He carries with him the legendary Stone of Destiny and the last surviving princess of King David's royal line.
They escape aboard the ship Sea Serpent, sailing directly into the unknown. And what's driving this journey? It's a biblical covenant promise, echoing from Genesis all the way to Ezekiel. This promise dictates that the royal lineage will absolutely not be extinguished, but transplanted. They are carrying a literal divine mandate across continents, seeking a new land where this throne can actually be replanted. As we move into Book 2, The Red Hand and the Eternal Throne, the story is presented as a bardic chronicle. It beautifully brings Hebrew covenant theology directly into Celtic soil. We actually follow heroes like the warrior Gathalus and Princess Skoda, exploring the forgotten migrations that connected ancient Mediterranean exiles with early Celtic kingdoms. It's a fascinating connection.
So who is this foundational series really for? Well, it's a brilliant mix. If you love biblical fiction, you're going to see ancient prophecies taking root in warrior cultures. If you're an epic fantasy enthusiast, you're getting intense spiritual warfare that transcends the physical realm. You know, battles where human ingenuity just has to yield to divine intervention. And for historical fiction lovers, it's a meticulously researched journey through 6th century Iberia and the ancient Mediterranean. There's really something for everyone.
All right, moving on to Series 2, The Nephilim Chronicles.
Fast forward 2.5 millennia, and we hit the modern era. Listen to this. The chains are weakening. The oaths are stirring. It has arrived. That chilling quote introduces the massive stakes of the second series. All those ancient promises from the first series are culminating right now in a modern-day supernatural war.
But we really need to understand exactly who the enemy is here. In Kerman Gild's biblically accurate cosmology, the Nephilim aren't just the generic giants from Sunday school. Not even close. They were the hybrid offspring of fallen angels, the Watchers, and human women. Think about that. They possessed angelic intelligence inside monstrous bodies. Now, the Great Flood destroyed their physical forms, but their disembodied hybrid spirits actually survived. Those spirits became what we now know as demons.
And guys, they have spent 5,000 years preparing for their revenge.
This brings us to the release timeline of the modern thriller. Book 1, The Sidonia Oaths, and Book 2, The Cauldron of God, are available right now. In these, we follow Sion MacMorna. He's a 2,631-year-old Celtic warrior. I mean, imagine that resume. He's been hunting these surviving Nephilim bloodlines across the globe. He is acting as the guardian of the two witnesses of Revelation, and the final war is quite literally breaking out all around him.
And just look at the setup for Book 2. 2 kilometers beneath the Antarctic ice, something 5,000 years old is waking up. The antediluvian prison of Azazel, the leader of the Watchers, is actively being breached. Sion has to descend into a Watcher-era prison with a finite clock to stop it. It is incredibly cinematic and seriously tense. You won't be able to put it down.
Kerman Gild Publishing Overview, The World Builder's Journey. So, how does this all tie together? Well, here is the incredible reveal that connects everything we've looked at today. Remember that immortal warrior, Cleon MacMorna? The Stone and the Sceptre Chronicles, that ancient historical fantasy we discussed earlier, is actually his origin story. It tracks the exact moment in 586 BCE when he first received his prophecy, found his ancient sword, and became the man he would spend the next 26 centuries being. It is just one massive, brilliant, totally interconnected timeline.
Available now on Amazon. Let's talk about how you can get your hands on these.
If you want to start your journey today, it's incredibly simple. Step 1, head directly over to Amazon. Step 2, search for The Stone and the Sceptre to experience the breathtaking historical origins of the covenant promises. Or, Step 3, search for The Sidonian Oaths to jump straight into the apocalyptic thriller. Honestly, you can read them in either order, but both guarantee an absolutely incredible ride into this universe.
The ancient promises have survived the centuries. The Watchers are stirring beneath the ice. The only question left is, are you ready to step into the final war? Head to Amazon right now, pick up Kerman Gild's masterpieces, and find out for yourself. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy reading.